Okay. Hi, Moriah.
Hi,
it's
Jessie.
Good to see you today. So, I know that Christmas break is coming up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I know we've talked about it before, but I wanted to see, like, how are you doing? How are you feeling about being with your family?
Yeah. So, I'm very excited to go back because I need a break.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be interesting to be at home again with all of my brothers and everybody in my family. So, it'll be a little bit tense because when we all live together again, it just kind of goes that way. But we still love each other and but we fight pretty often. And then on top of that, we are taking a cruise to Mexico,
That's
which
fun.
is going to be super fun.
Yeah.
But it is going to be with my grandma and her husband, and then my grandma's husband's family. And it's not that we don't like them; they're just kind of high-strung and like a little hard to deal with.
And when you say we, what do you mean by that?
I mean like my mom, my dad, and my other brother. But
So
one
like
of my
your
brothers,
immediate family.
yeah, my immediate family, and then one of my brothers won't be there, so which is a little bit good because my grandma's husband Alan and my brother Elijah usually butt heads, so Elijah won't be there, so it'll kind of mitigate kind of a little bit of tension.
Yeah. Where do you feel like a lot of the tension comes from?
I think it is the fact that Alan is a very nice man, but it's a little bit of a generational thing. He kind of expects the wife to kind of not serve necessarily, but like be there and do what he wants her to do. And so like if he does say the dishes one night, he'll text us and say, "Oh, did the dishes for Charlene?" And it's like, that's it. And so my brother gets kind of mad because a husband should do a little bit more, or like, and it's not necessarily like tit for tat. It's just kind of like do it out of love and do it without trying to be seen, you know? And so she works really hard to like keep him happy in a sense. And so we just like, it's hard for us to see that for her. And we've had her for so many years because she was widowed like about 12 years ago. And so we've had her to ourselves all this time. And then all of a sudden we don't, and we see her less. And so I think it's just kind of hard when we have to see him with her.
Yeah,
but
that completely makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you said as well, like your brother gets frustrated, and even like you kind of miss seeing her and things like that. How do you feel like you come into that with the tension? How do you feel about the tension? How do you feel about it frustrating your family and things like that?
Yeah, sometimes I'm a little oblivious to it. I won't be there when he says something or when something happens, so I'm just kind of like left out of the loop, which in a way is a good thing because I don't have any negative bias against him. But when I am there and I see it, I get really irritated and kind of like angry, and so I just want to like escape. Like I just want to go because I'm very respectful to like my elders, and so there's no way for me to be respectful when I'm angry. So I just want to escape the situation.
Gotcha. Yeah. So that'll be hard on a cruise.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know it's been a very emotional semester.
Yeah.
And a lot of things have happened, and of course, like you kind of need Christmas break to rest, and I know we've talked about before some health issues and things like that. So how do you think, like, how are you feeling about all of those things together with the tension of your family coming to a head with also needing rest, and what are you thinking about those things?
It'll be kind of hard to navigate because coming from stressful and tension areas, being an RA, like and then finally being able to escape that, like literally escape that, but then being in another situation where I can't really escape because I'll be stuck on the same boat as them.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping to step back when I need to. And my mom, we were talking about this as we decided to like confirm going, like we said yes to going. We were saying like when we need to, we can take a step back and we can like have our own meal and do that, but we are still expected to like, you know, be with the family. and I hate saying I escape from the situation because it's literally what I do, but it's kind of like I don't know how to be respectful and address a situation to somebody at the same time when they're older than me. Yeah. Because it's just like, I don't know, it's just engraved in my brain. Yeah. So it's just like, I don't know how to go about that. Yeah. Especially because I don't want my grandma feeling like we hate her husband. Yeah. Like I don't want her to feel like torn between two families. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how that's gonna go. Yeah.
When you think about that relationship specifically with your grandmother and her husband, what do you think? Now, of course, like, you can't know for certain unless talking to them, but what do you think they're looking for when they're with you guys?
I think they're just looking for quality time. And for us to, like, be happy in their presence. Yeah. And there are many moments that we are happy in their presence when it's very calm and, like, not forced, you know, when we choose, like, I know it sounds bad, but when we choose to hang out and, like, when we choose to say yes to, oh yeah, let's go get lunch after church, or yes, like, let's go to church together, like, we are putting ourselves in those situations because we're, like, comfortable with it. Yeah. And we did say yes to the cruise, and so, like, we're comfortable with it, but it's just going to be a lot more time with them than usual. So I think, yeah, I mean, they expect us to be, like, happy, I guess. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's just not always the case, because one little thing that will take Alan off, and it's kind of like everything's ruined. Yeah. It's just like he's not really a patient person.
Yeah. So, kind of looking at both of those things, so your health and then your relationship with your grandmother and Alan as well. I kind of want us to walk through what it would look like to make goals. Yeah. I want you to be able to come back feeling rested and healthy, but also it sounds like part of what the tension is that you want to serve them and you want to love them. And so I want us to talk about, even you said, I don't know how to do that. Like, let's talk about what that could look like and what would make you feel like you have succeeded in that. Okay. So I guess let's start with just the fact, like, with your family, where do you think, and knowing yourself as well, like thinking through your health and what you need, where do you think that line would be of what is that point that you get ticked off or frustrated? Yeah. And maybe, like, finding a good boundary for that of knowing, like, all right, this is when I need to separate, but this is when I can serve and love, you know? So, yeah. What are you thinking for that?
I'm kind of thinking, like, one thing that just popped in my head is that every day is a new day. So, like, I need to kind of refresh the relationship, like, overnight. Like, don't hold what they said the day before against them. Try to move on, I guess. Yeah. And I want to be realistic with, like, hours of, like, oh, max 6 hours that I can be with them, but I don't know, because sometimes it's good, and, like, we can be together all day, and sometimes it's, like, the first hour is super tense. Yeah. So I think, like, as far as, like, setting boundaries for myself and with them, it'd just be something more closer to understanding where they're coming from. Yeah. And, like, having grace for whatever reactions are going to happen. Yeah. But, like, loving them even though they, like, are, like, irritating me or, like, causing me to be anxious or whatever. Yeah. So I guess a plan would just be start anew, because that's, like, really important. And then be patient, because that's ultimately what I'm asking for, is patience from them. And be open. Yeah. Because it's really hard to, like, go with what they want to do. So, yeah. Okay, so then thinking the other side of it, because I think this impacts that too, but what do you think you need to feel rested? Because I think that will also impact your boundaries of knowing, like, if I haven't gotten enough sleep today, or if I haven't gotten enough time alone, that can impact your boundaries as well. So what do you think you need? I definitely need, like, my usual 8 hours of sleep. Okay. That is ultimately a good start to any day that I have. Yeah. if I have a good night's sleep. I know this is funny, but, like, I need my coffee in the morning. Like,
yeah.
That's gonna set the day. Yeah, that's knowing the day, like, that's how I start the day. Like, I have it, and then I'm ready to go. And then just kind of checking in with my family and making sure that, like, all is well.
Yeah.
I don't really want to start off the day, like, gossiping, oh, Alan did this last night and it irked me, or anything like that. I'd rather just be like, okay, like, let's get ready for a new day. Like, I'd rather start the morning off with my immediate family. That way we kind of get comfortable for the day. And then, like, we can blossom into, all right, now we're ready for, like, full family time.
Yeah.
Full-fledged.
Yeah, totally. And I know you said, it sounded like your mother is a pretty good advocate and knows what you need. Do you feel comfortable enough to tell them this boundary for yourself? Even to say, like, hey, I would like to start start the morning with you guys because I want to feel comfortable and, like, I want to serve them well. Do you think you would feel comfortable enough to say that? Or, like, how you could have that conversation?
Yeah.
Or how you could keep this? Because I feel like since it includes other people.
Yeah, I think I'm a little more closed off when it comes to emotions and stuff, so it'd definitely be not a huge step for me to say, Mom, like, let's start off the day with just our immediate family, but it'd just be kind of, like, going out of my comfort zone, but I don't think it would be, like, as difficult of a task as, like, something else. So I think I could easily, like, say, hey, Mom, like, what do you think if we all started the day off together? Or you and I, like, let's get on the same page. Like, it doesn't have to be my dad, brother, me, mom. Like, it could just be, like, one family member, and, like, at least we can start off with that.
I think that sounds great. And I think that's both of those are, like, all three of these are tangible. Getting 8 hours of sleep, those are good goals to have because you have, like, you can easily look at it and see if you've done it or not, you know? So with these things impacting as well your family, and your grandmother and Alan, I'm wondering, and this is just an idea, and we can play with it a little bit, but I know you've said before you're kind of a journaler, right? Or, like, you like to have checklists. So I'm wondering if maybe it'd be a good idea each night to have set in place something, just like a little litmus test almost of how you're doing and what you need, and, like, maybe a list of questions for yourself. And then the last reminder of every day is a new day. Yeah. To basically think about how the day went, think about how you're doing and what you need. And then if there was any stress, to get it off your chest and it's done. And then as well, that'll help you sleep better. You know, I think a lot of times we take on that stress as we're sleeping. So I wonder what you think about that. Like, do you think that would work, or how would you change that? Like, maybe if that is a good, it might be a horrible one, but
yeah. So when I journal, it's a lot easier for me to, like, bullet point things out. Okay. Just because that's kind of how my brain thinks. Like, one thing, like, not in completely full sentences. Yeah. So I think it'd be, like, pretty, it would be a reachable goal of, like, writing out, this is, like, what happened today, and then, like, alongside of that, like, this is what it made me feel. And so kind of keeping my emotions, like, accountable, but also keeping track of them and knowing myself, because then I can kind of pinpoint a little bit more what's the root sometimes, because sometimes there's not really any reason why I'm mad, I'm just mad. Yeah. So I think, like, if I had checked, you know, those things, then it would be...
completely. Okay. Yeah. So I know that's just also the first part of the break, and I know we still have some more time, so I know, but I wanted to talk about specifically the cruise, because I know that sounded like it was going to be something that brought a lot of stress on you. Yeah. And I wanted to make sure we got to that. But thinking about, okay, even the rest of the break. So after the cruise, right, you're going back home for a couple of days. Yeah.
I'll be back home for, I think, 4 days.
Okay, so just 4, which is
maybe 5.
Fast. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so it's really only a few days.
Yeah.
And then what happens after that? Do you come back?
Yes, I come back and I go back to work.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. So what do you think after the cruise and after the stress of that, what do you think those 4 or 5 days are going to look like? What are you excited about? What are you nervous about? All those things.
I'm excited to just get ready for like a new year and just kind of set myself up for success in the next semester, because that's when I'll be graduating. So I really think I need to like take time and think over not my greater future, just kind of the immediate future, you know? And kind of not necessarily plan out as much as I can, but just be aware of like, this is what's going on. So I need to keep in mind these things when I will later plan out my life.
Yeah.
So I think it's just kind of a combination of resting before I start work, because that's going to be pretty fast when I jump into it. And then just kind of getting ready for my world to change a little bit, because I'll be graduating and then moving back home within the span of like 4.5 months.
Yeah.
So
what do you think preparing for that looks like for you? Because I know you went through that a little bit, deciding on a college. Mm-hmm. Of course, this is a little bit different, and some of it's unknown, but yeah, what do you think that looks like?
For me, I'm definitely going to be looking logistically at like jobs and to see what's kind of offered around my home area, and not necessarily apply to them, but just kind of be aware of what people are looking for. Mm-hmm. That way, maybe I can take a second chance to try and get prepared as much as possible during my second semester, and then just kind of resting and getting prepared, just really like being relaxed before I know it's going to be a really hectic semester. So for that, I would just love to spend as much time with my family as possible, because I feel like I'm not going to see them as often this semester. And so just getting ready for that. So spending time with family, kind of logistically looking at job expectations for the future. And
look at you, you're already making goals for yourself.
And did I say spending time with my family?
Yes.
Yeah.
You got that.
That's pretty much what I think it's going to look like. It might look completely different, but my main goals are rest, look at jobs, and then rest with my family and just kind of spend quality time with them.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Do you ever feel like, with your family and with, new transition coming up in life, is there a lot of pressure to figure out what you're doing next? Is there pressure, like, I don't know, from them and just in general of, like, finding a job, getting into a new stage of life, all those things? Like, what does that feel like for you?
So I jumped right into a 4-year university out of high school, and my older brother went to community college and then Sac State. So he had a little bit of time to, like, kind of be at home and adjust in a different way to college, and so I just kind of, like, jumped right off the bat. So I feel like my parents expect me to get a job, and there's more tension from my mom to get, like, a marketing, like,
because that's your major, right?
That's my major, yeah. And I'm more like, I'll get an internship, I'll work at a coffee shop if I need to, if I, like, have a part-time marketing job or whatever, but my mom, like, wants me to get an official, like, corporate marketing job, which I think that would, like, that's not what I'm not going for.
Right.
Or what I'm against. I just don't know if I necessarily qualify for something as like a jump as that.
Right.
So there's a little bit of pressure from my mom, and then my dad is just, like, adamant about me just working hard, and, like, I'm all for that. Like, whatever I need to do to just gain my experience, I feel like that's me and my dad are on the same page.
Yeah.
And then I think it'll just, when I, like, go home eventually, it'll be a little bit different depending on if my brother still lives at home, because if we live full-time, all of us together, that'll be really interesting.
Right, because you're going to be moving home.
Yes, I'm moving home.
At the end of the semester, that's right.
At the end of the semester, back, so, because it's free. So,
yep, that's a good.
It's the only reason why.
Yeah.
But I love my family. But yeah, I think it's just gonna look just a little tense, because I don't necessarily know what I'm looking for in a job. I'm just looking for something that I can do, like something that I'm happy with. And I know that not every job is going to be the happiest job, but something that I can at least say I try my best and I can be somewhat happy, you know?
Yeah, that completely makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that it's a big transition right out of college. So,
yeah.
Yeah. So this will be the last time you're going back before you're moving back, right?
Last, like, longer amount of time.
Okay.
Yeah, because spring break is not as long, and I may not even go home. And then, yeah. So, if anything, I do go home, it'll be like a weekend trip or something. But pretty, yeah.
So, yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so thinking through, like, this, I mean, as you're about to graduate college, and you're an adult, but this is your family, and I know you guys have tension and you're moving home. What do you think it looks like for your relationship with them now as being an adult? Or even, like, what kinds of things do you think you need to start laying out communication-wise of when you move home, you want to be treated like an adult, I think. And, like, I don't know, what does that look like for you? What do you think, like, how do they treat you now? Do you feel good about that, or?
Yeah, I think my relationship with my parents, they're very respectful of my, like, not necessarily adult life, because I don't feel like an adult yet. Considerably, I am an adult, but when I go home, it's, like, just getting with my high school friends. So, like, they're very respectful about that, and they give me my space. But I do see how, like, we can easily, like, miscommunicate just overall. Just, like, especially me and my older brother, just because he likes things a certain way, and I'm very go with the flow. So it just doesn't always mix. And for him, there's no really such thing as communication.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that he doesn't set up a healthy relationship because he doesn't know how to communicate. So he either says what he thinks and it's rude, but it's true sometimes, or, like, I'm like, well, I can't fight you on that. But he also might not say anything, and he just storms out of the house, and he leaves, and he goes for a drive, and he's gone, you know? So there's not, like, an in-between where it's like, okay, well, like, we can work with this. It's like, either I'm offended, and I'm trying to figure out how to communicate with him, or he's offended, and he just leaves.
Yeah.
So
that sounds hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that happens. That's not just my relationship with him. That's my parents too. And it's hard sometimes because, like, I don't see that he respects them because he doesn't, like, even give them the time of day to, like, hear them out. So.
Have you guys ever talked about that before?
We've had, like, not interventions, but we've always, like, we've had multiple times where we've sat down and we've told him how we felt. Yeah. And then the communication was better for, say, a month or so. But he's always resorted back to his, like, tendencies. So we've done counseling before as a family, and, like, he's also on, like, anxiety medication, because that's what a large part has to do with it, is that he's, like, anxious because he can't control the situation. So I think that's also why he leaves, because he's like, I can't control it, so I need to escape it, you know?
Yeah.
But
well, I think a little bit similar to your grandmother and Alan is, like, understanding, of course you want to serve and love him, but there needs to be boundaries in place too. Like, you deserve to be healthy as well in that relationship. Yeah. So do you think you have any sort of boundaries there, or, like, how have you thought about that relationship before for you, for your sake? Because it sounds like there's a lot of pain almost there and stress.
That's true. It is very stressful when I go home. Like, I have people pray for me all the time, because I'm like, I'm try to be as patient as possible with him, but a lot of times he blows my fuse and I just get irritated. But say what you were asking me again?
About boundaries.
Okay,
and
yes. That's right. So my boundary has been, like, I just don't deal with him.
Okay.
Like, I know we're gonna end up fighting, and so I just try not to fight. And so anytime an argument comes up, I just escape it, because he can't control it, and if I try to make it, he doesn't see my side. So I try to just ignore the situation at all times and but then there's always, like, he is a button pusher. So if he hasn't fought with you yet that week, he's going to push you until you guys get into a fight. Which
interesting.
is, yeah, it's a very interesting situation.
Yeah. Have you ever talked to him about that?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. We've had a lot of conversations, like, screaming matches where we're like, I say, like, look, you keep pushing me. And I try to ignore it. My mom would always say as we're growing up, just ignore him. And I'd be like, I am ignoring him, but there's a certain point that he pushes to that you just can no longer, like, control it. So it's just, my boundary with him as I've grown to be more mature has just been trying to, like, just litigate those situations as much as possible. And just, like, he likes to be right all the time, so I'll just be like, okay, you're right. You know, like, just ignoring at all times any chance or possibility of an argument happening, because that's when I'll go off.
Yeah.
So.
Do you ever feel like because of that you've been almost emotionally neglecting yourself, though, and even, like, maybe your family has given more attention to that?
Yeah. I do feel oftentimes that, like, my feelings don't always matter, and, like, in that way I'm emotionally neglected, because there's been, like, we've done the things that we've needed to do to a certain extent to, like, try and improve the situation, like, go to counseling, or, just try, like, practices that we learned there, or, like, him getting medicated, like, for anxiety, because I think that's, like, an OCD, that's, like, where most of it comes from. And, but most of the time, it's just not going to work out between us. So I just felt like I said, growing up, my parents would say, just ignore him. And I'm like, that's not going to solve it. Like, I understand in certain situations, like, okay, I'll ignore him for now, but we need to talk about this later. Like, it's just, like, I definitely felt like I've been emotionally neglected in that way, because he kind of got his way in the fact that he's happy because I'm unhappy, or I'm irritated, or I'm angry. Yeah. And that's part of, like, a brother-sister relationship sometimes, like, growing up, like, you know, the older brother is, like, a little butt, but, and then it's just, like, turned into, like, a whole different level, but.
Yeah. Have you ever been able to have those kinds of conversations with your mom? Because I know that's been a good relationship.
Yeah. Me and my mom, almost every time I'm home, we talk about it. Because it's absolutely, like, it's so hard to live with him. He, like, there's a standard for everybody else, but for him, there's not. Yeah. So, like, dishes, like, I've talked about making goals, like, how to serve my family, like, doing dishes, like, because he works, he doesn't have to do dishes. So then, but then my parents work, but they do dishes. Or, you know, it's like little things like that hard. That, like, even that, like, bothers me, because my parents work all day and commute, but he doesn't get to do dishes. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, me and my mom
seems
talk
like it's
about
unfair.
It's very unfair, but it's I understand, like, where she comes from when she says, like, just ignore him, or like anything else kind of like that, because he is really difficult to deal with. Like, it's not that we can't deal with him, it's just that he can't understand us, our sides, when we try and make him understand, or try to deal with it. But there's been very few times where he's been like, okay, I understand where you're coming from. But that's when we've had to, like, all break down and, like, be emotionally vulnerable. Like, everybody has something to say, and then, like, he understands. But then it reverts back to, like, normal behavior. Yeah. But me and my mom have definitely talked about it, because it's one little thing, like him wanting to be a handyman around the house, but then he breaks something. And so it's, like, one thing where we try to tell him, no, it's okay, like, just let somebody else do that. But he's, like, so adamant about doing it. And then it goes wrong for him. But he blames everybody else. And so, my mom and I have talked about it before, and it's just, like, we just don't know exactly what to do, because we're trying, you know, like, he takes his medication, and he tries to have as structured of a life as possible, but I don't think he knows really what that looks like. Yeah. So then he can't balance, work life and, like, personal, like, self-time with family time. So I think it would benefit from, like, learning how to try to balance things, but he also just doesn't want to put in the work.
Yeah.
But,
well, that sounds like a lot. I definitely want to encourage you and tell you about, I think we may have talked about this a little bit, but kind of bringing up the difference between fault and responsibility as well, and understanding, like, there's not always anything you can do to make him feel a different way, but, like, you, like, knowing that you can get rest, or knowing who you are, and just your responsibility in that relationship, but also your responsibility to yourself, and making sure that you're taken care of. That is your responsibility. And so I know it's so tough sometimes seeing things and being like, man, I wish I could control this or take care of it. But honestly, like, I'm really proud of you, and it sounds like you have thought through these things before, which is really great and very mature for your age, knowing that sometimes it's just hard with people, and sometimes you do have to take some of that weight, but then also knowing how to take care of that weight for yourself so it doesn't overwhelm you. So yeah, I know that we're about to run out of time, but I wanted to talk through these things before Christmas. I know that a lot's coming up. I'm even wondering, with your brother, thinking about the kind of, like, litmus test almost of having a checklist each night. I wonder if, not even just on the cruise with your grandparents, but if that would help, like, at home. Yeah. I don't know what you think about that. But I know we talked through as well. I want to really encourage you to really make sure if 8 hours and your coffee in the morning is, like, what you need, like, making sure you get that. So, So, I think I'm excited for you to get a break. I know that it'll be a lot much being around family. But I'm excited to see you again in the new year, and I hope that this all goes well. I hope you stick to some of these goals that we made. So,
I think they're very realistic. So
good.
I think it's going to be good to stick to them.
Good. All right. Well, I'll see you next year.
See you next year.
Goodbye.
Bye.
She really got up and left. That's funny.
Is that what you do?
You can.
What time is it?
32 minutes.